Hello everyone! Welcome back to my channel, and if you've never been here before, my name is Justine Daydream. Today, I'm really excited to talk to you about the book this is the book that I was looking forward to. I was desperate to read this book. Normally, I am not desperate to read a book. I am just like, oh, I can't wait till that comes out and I can see it. I was so excited to read this book. After I read the second book in the ACOWAR series, A Court of Mystery, I was dying to read this book, and you all know what it is. ACOWAR, A Court of Wings and Ruin. I was desperate to read this book, and it was drama together. I was like, I'm gonna pre-order it on my Kindle. My husband was like, no. I was like, ugh, okay, why? And he was just like, no, don't worry about it. So it came out in May, and Mother's Day is in May. And my husband actually bought me the hard copy of this book for Mother's Day. Normally, I don't buy hard copies. I usually do Kindle. But for this series specifically, he always buys me a hard copy. So I was really excited. And I had to wait a few days after it came out, which made me grumpy because normally I like to read it all right away. But it was so worth it because he ended up getting me a signed copy. So I was like, aha! One of my favorite authors actually signed a book for me. It says my name. Ah! So, yeah, shout out to my hubs. Thank you so much. I loved it. Let's start talking about this book that I was so anticipating, like, for so long. This book starts off. Like, honey, this book starts off with Feyre infiltrating the spring court. We do have a tiny little snippet of Rhys on the battlefield from a war that had previously passed. So we get that snippet, and he's searching for Cassian and Azriel's bodies. Obviously, he doesn't find them because they didn't die. But we do get that snippet into the past, and then the book kicks off. Feyre has infiltrated the spring court. Feyre has gone there and she has played damsel in distress. She has played innocent victim while single-handedly bringing down the spring court from within. Girl, I know we were all like, get him, Feyre, just get him, girl. Don't let yourself boo. You better destroy that man. Tim Tam the Tollman Tamlin. So we're all desperate to see Tamlin destroyed. And she does it. I actually just couldn't believe that she did that. She's playing the victim, and she's got Tamlin fooled. Lucien is he is not falling for it. He knows something is up. He knows Feyre. He knows what her responses would be, and she's just being too calm and collected about Tamlin being the one to sell her sisters out to Hybern. So he's looking at him like, something's up. I don't know what. He keeps trying to get her to tell him. She won't tell him. Tamlin, he is trying to change. He is, in a way, trying to change. He is trying to give her a little bit more freedom. It's very hard for him because that guy is very controlling. We knew this. We knew he was controlling. She knew this too. So she's over here, like, trying to get him. Just picking at him. Every day she's just like, jab, jab, jab. And she's just like, I'm going to get this motherfucker to break. I am going to get him to lose his temper. And when he loses his temper, it's not going to be me who looks like the bad guy for making him lose his temper. It's going to be him who looks like the bad guy. And then his whole court, his people, everyone's going to be like, that's an abusive motherfucker. They're going to be like, this guy is abusive. So she pushes him constantly. He loses his temper several times. He is aggressive. What I really want to talk about is what Feyre does to Ianthe. I've made a list of the things that Feyre does to Ianthe in this book because our girl, Feyre, was out for revenge this book. Number 1 on the list of things that Feyre did to Ianthe in ACOWAR. She steals her thunder on the summer solstice, okay? So summer solstice comes, Ianthe's like, boo, we're about to do a prayer, thanking the sun for giving us this bounty, blah, 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 blah. And everybody shows up. And Feyre's like, yeah, I'm gonna help you plan that. Don't worry, boo. She helps her plan it. She gets it to where Ianthony is in the wrong spot. The sun comes up, the sun shines on Feyre and Lucien. She has it to where everyone else is on one side and Feyre and Lucien are by themselves and the sun is shining on them. And Feyre kind of amps up her glow a little bit with her Dawn Court powers and makes herself look extra glowy. She's wearing this dress, it's all white. She's looking like the picture of purity in this moment. And all the people in the court are like, oh, Feyre Cursebreaker, our hero. And Feyre's just like looking at Ianthe like, gotcha, bitch. So we get that first piece of revenge and it's delicious. Second thing that Feyre does to Ianthe, she wrecks her little, oh, the garden, like the grass around my temple is dying. Feyre's like, that's just a grass problem. So Ianthe's trying to gain her credibility back, but it's just not working. So Ianthe's like sitting here like, what can I do to gain my credibility back since Feyre has pushed me to this point? Ianthe's like, I'm going to steal keys from a guard. I'm going to give them to the Naga. I'm going to allow the Naga to infiltrate the Springcourt Manor. And then I'm going to look like the hero for alerting everybody. But little did Ianthe know, this played right into Feyre's trap. Feyre's whole plot was like, girl, I'm going to make you look dumb right now. The guards and sentries of the palace are already on their last leg with the Springcourt leaders, with Tamlin and Ianthe. And this just kind of pushes them over the edge. The guard, the sentry who fell asleep when the keys were taken, is about to get 20 lashings. And one more for the cauldron, according to Ianthe. Ianthe's like, this guy is a liar. The sentry tells Tamlin, Ianthe is the one who did this to me. She's the one who took the keys. Ianthe's like, you're a liar. Tamlin's like, I don't know. I think that my priestess would not lie to me, and I think my sentries are lying to me. All the other guards, all the other sentries are looking at Tamlin like, you would take the word of a priestess over the word of one of these people who has died for you? Like, all these sentries and guards would happily die to keep the Springcourt safe, but you're going to take the word of this, like, slutty priestess? And so Tamlin was up here, hi, Lord. Now he's down here as a man who does not value the people of the Springcourt. Feyre's like, hear him out, give him a chance. Tamlin's like, no. So Tamlin looks like the bad guy. Ianthe looks like a liar and a bad guy. And Feyre looks like a hero. She even tends to the guy's wounds and then checks on him in the morning. So all the sentries and all the guards are like, Feyre is the only real bitch in this place. Everybody else only cares about themselves. Feyre cares about the people, and she's the Cursebreaker. The fourth thing that Feyre does to Ianthe in this book is makes her crush her own hand. So she literally has Ianthe take a rock to her hand and smash it over and over and over again. The fifth thing she does is put it into Ianthe's mind, using her Damatai powers, that Ianthe will always be running for something and she will never be safe. And that is a terrible fear to live with. So I understood the repercussions of that, and I was like, Feyre, you devious bitch. But the reason that Feyre does this, the reason why she hates Ianthe, is not just because Ianthe tried to seduce Rise one time or try to force herself upon Rise. It was because she did this she basically forced Lucien on Calanmai. We find out that old boy Tamlin did not have sex with Ianthe on Calanmai, and we find out that Lucien had to go in his place. Like it says in the book, there was a line blurred there. There was a blurring of right and wrong that was an ethically ambiguous area. And I just was so like, oh my god, no, Lucien, why? And Feyre gets her revenge on Ianthe and gives Lucien his revenge on Ianthe. And this is a totally crackpot fan theory, I realize this, but I believe that Feyre and Lucien are Caranam. I believe if you read any of the Mortal Instruments book, like, they're like parabatai. There's moments in the book where Feyre and Lucien are fighting together and they fight super well together. There's even a moment or two in the book where they seem to look at each other and read each other's minds, much like Rowaelin in EOS, or one of the many books that they were in together. And it gets me thinking, could these two be Caranam? I'm not talking a sexual relationship. I am talking a totally platonic male-female relationship. I get the vibe. There was one moment where I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but Lucien and Feyre are fighting against Lucien's brothers, and Lucien puts all his power towards it, and Feyre adds a trickle to his power. In the book, it does not say she also attacks Lucien's brothers. It says Feyre adds the trickle of power that she has in her at that time to Lucien's. She joins her power with Lucien's. I think, personally, they're Karanem. Honestly, comment down below if you agree or disagree and tell me why, please, because I'm really curious about that. So the next thing I should probably mention is Dagden and Branagh. It's clear they have a weird relationship. Dagden does everything for Branagh. Both of them are evil, just evil to the core characters. They have a weird relationship, like almost parasitic relationship to each other, or not parasitic, a symbiotic relationship that is just a little too close for brother and sister. Like, they sleep in the same room, which is really weird because, like, brothers and sisters, like, obviously if I had a chance to sleep in the same room as my brother, I'm gonna be like, no, go to your own room, weirdo, bye. But whatever. There's a moment where they are looking for holes in the wall, and Feyre and Lucien are there, and they want to attack some children of the Blessed. Feyre gets into these children of the Blessed's mind and gets them to run away, and then the next morning when they wake up, they see the tortured bodies of the children of the Blessed. So, it's a terrible moment. They poison Feyre's food, and what's so interesting is when you go back after reading the book and you look at that part again, is it always mentions that Feyre's headaches start in the morning at breakfast. So her headaches start when she consumes the Fabane that they're poisoning with her with. And slowly but surely she's getting weaker. She is not able to communicate with Rhys through the mating bond the way she should be. She gets back at Dagden and Branagh with Lucien. What they do is they unleash a bogue to scare the shit out of Dagden and Branagh. Tamlin finds out about this and is like, I'm super disappointed in you. And I'm just like, you know what? If somebody's out here killing innocent people, I don't think we should be disappointed if we send a bogue after them. So you know what, Tamlin? Just stay in your lane, boo. Bye, honey. Bye. But anyways, I'm just mad at him at this point. I think we all were we wanted to see Tamlin shredded for what he had done to Feyre and her family. The betrayals. And at this point, Feyre pushes him and he loses control, and she lets his push of power attack her, and she lets the bruises show, and she even doesn't heal the bruises right away, which is how she doesn't find out that her powers are slowly weakening. She thinks, oh, I'm not letting them heal fast enough. In reality, she's not healing because she's being poisoned by Fabane. To kind of pull together this whole part one of the story, Feyre takes down Ianthe. She shreds their credibility with the sentries. And then she and Lucien have this moment where Dagden and Branagh attack and fight with Feyre. Feyre does end up fighting Dagden and Branagh, and Lucien has her back. He fights with her. And they fight really well together. At this moment, it's like, dude, we gotta get the hell out of here. We just killed Hybern's niece and nephew. We gotta bounce. So basically, Feyre's like, look, you can stay or you can come with me and we can get the hell out of here because you know the spring court ain't right. And Lucien's like, you know what? I know, and I'm gonna go because I want to see about my mate Elaine, your sister Feyre. And Feyre's like, okay, sure, we'll see. We'll talk about it. They escape through the Autumn Court and they travel through the Autumn Court. And obviously, Lucien grew up there. He has some pretty good knowledge about where to hide in the Autumn Court. And they do hide for like 5 days. But, eventually his brothers do catch up with him and Feyre, and they do try to capture them. And that's when Feyre and Lucien try to join their power together. And they are severely weakened by the Fabane in their system that is, slowly leaving their system. So they're slowly getting their power back. They escape Eris and the other brothers. By the skin of their little teeth, they bounce. They head towards the Winter Court. While they're passing through this big lake thing, Eris and his siblings catch up with him again. And we're like, crap. Feyre has very little power. There's nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to escape. Her and Lucien just book it. They just run for it. They're running for their lives. Eris captures Feyre. He starts beating on her. She takes a pretty nasty beating. I'm sure Lucien does too. It doesn't say how beat he got, but he was fighting his siblings. Who shows up in the nick of time? And at this point, I think we're all dying for this character to show up. Like, we're dying for the Night Court to show up. We miss them, okay? We're like 100 and something pages in, and we really miss the Night Court. And finally, who shows up but Cassian and Azriel? And Feyre's like sobbing with joy to see them. And Cassian looks at her like, girl, I taught you how to get out of this same situation, so you used what I taught you and get out of this situation. And she's like, you're right, you did. And so she kind of just, fandangles herself out of there. Like, ow. And goes over to Cassian and Azriel. And the boys, Cass and Azriel, are like, we're gonna kill you guys, to Eris and his brother. And Feyre's like, no, like, this is not gonna give us allies in the war. So even though I want them dead for what they just did to me and Lucien, I'm gonna tell y'all, don't kill them. So Cassian and Azriel see the wisdom in this, and they take her and Lucien back home. And we're all just like, where's Rhys? Where's Rhys? Like, I'm sure everybody is like, yeah, we're so excited. We just want to see our bae. A court of mist and fury tugged on the heartstrings of people everywhere. And first we see Mor, and her and Feyre have their reunion, and that's sweet. And we also understand why Mor didn't go to rescue her. She didn't want to go face to face with Eris, who was once her betrothed, who basically left her for dead one time. So she obviously didn't want to see him. Feyre's like, I understand. So they go home to the townhouse. Amren greets her. She's so happy to see Amren. She's like, so happy to be home. Lucien's like, where the heck are we? Because he's expecting like some evil Night Court stuff, which we know that the Night Court is not all evil, but he doesn't know that. And finally, Rhys shows up, and him and Feyre have this perfect moment where they come back together, and they're so relieved and so happy to see each other. And also, Feyre drops to the floor and covers her eyes, and I think that's because she was just so overwhelmed by Rhys. It was like she saw him and she was like, look at all this bad shit I've done lately, and really in reality I should have just been here with this guy who I just love with my whole heart. Do I think she shouldn't have torn down the Spring Court? No, I think she totally should have done what she did. I think she was justified in that. I think we're gonna see some growth in Tamlin. Back to Rhys. They have their moment back together. We get back to our man. He's wonderful as he was before, if not more so. I'm super pleased. I'm like internally like screaming at that moment. I'm so happy for Feyre to be back with her man. They have to go to Kier, Morgan's father, in the Court of Nightmares and convince him to have his Darkbringer Legion come fight in the war. And they know it's going to be extremely difficult, and Mor is against it. But they all go as a unit, as a family, down there. Nesta comes too. Morgan is pissed because they knew that Kier was gonna want some bargaining chips, and he wants into the city. He wants into Valaris, and Rhys acquiesces that, and he's like, yeah, you can come into the city, sure. Rhys has a fallback plan for that, we all know now, but at that moment, it was just like, dude, don't let this guy into the city. Like, he is gonna shred that shit up. So I'm hurt. Mor's hurt. Who walks in but Eris, okay? Eris walks in the door. Mor's got bad blood with him for days. He's smirking all up in here, and then he talks. And then I get the feeling that there's more to the story of Eris. Right at that moment, I'm like, Eris, you're an onion, honey. You have layers, and I want to unravel those and figure out what really is good with you. One of the first things Eris says to Mor is like, I would have thought by now you would not let your emotions show on your face. To me, I was like, why is he giving her that? That's like advice. He's telling her, don't react to this guy, your dad, who's a bad guy. So Eris in that moment is actually looking out for Mor, which is weird. He tells Mor, I wouldn't have touched you, and I know why you did what you did when you went and slept with Cassian when they were supposed to be betrothed. And I'm like, Eris, who are you really, boo? Who really are you? Kier ends up being like, all right, the Darkbringers will fight with you, but I want access to Valaris. He gets some access to Valaris. He says, okay, we'll do it. When they get back to the townhouse, Mor is pissed. Her and Rhys have this whole like fight, and Feyre is in agreement. She's like, this was a pretty effed up thing to do, but she also was like, Rhys is my husband and I'm gonna be by his side no matter what. So she does try to console him in that way as well. Azriel and Mor, at this point, Mor is looking at him like, you betrayed me And Azriel is ashamed. He just point blank is ashamed, but he knew it was necessary. He knew he needed the Darkbringer force in order to defeat Hybern in this war. So he did what he had to do, to the detriment of more. Let's talk a little bit about Nessian. Okay, I know Nessian is goals. Their fights, their biting conversations with each other, the veritable lust you can kind of feel off the pages when you read about them talking to each other and seeing each other is awesome. I think Cassian is a great character. I think Nesta becomes vulnerable at certain times around Cassian. I think Nesta puts up a lot of walls around herself and she doesn't really want anyone to penetrate those walls. And I think she gets very frustrated with Cassian because in a way he can do that. We see their relationship through Feyre's eyes a lot, and Feyre is a pretty intuitive person. I love reading from Feyre's perspective. Okay, I just read Tower of Dawn, and I did not enjoy reading from Chaol's perspective, but I love reading from Feyre's perspective. She is so intuitive, she is so brainsy, she is so ballsy, she is so bold. I love Feyre. I love being in Feyre's brain, if that makes any sense. So we read a lot about their romance, and we can kind of see them. And they're falling in love a little bit, if they're not already in love a bit. And it's... if they don't have a mating bond, then, like, I will just eat crow. They are meant to be, and you cannot tell me otherwise. There is a mating bond that either Cassian is hiding or just hasn't kicked in yet. Nessian, at the end of the book, have this moment where Cassian does say, you know, I'm going to find you in the next life because this is a Sarah J. Maas book, so we can only reveal our true feelings in a near-death situation. Nesta actually is willing to die beside Cassian, and that solidifies their relationship for me. I know Nessian is a thing. I ship them so hard. That ship, get on the ocean and set sail, honey, because that's a ship right there. And I love it. Next thing I want to talk about, they have this big meeting. Everybody shows up. We find out a couple things, okay? Tamlin and Feyre have it out a little bit. Everybody has it out a little bit in this goddamn meeting. And it's mostly like the Night Court being in trouble for lying about themselves for many years. That's really what it is. At the end of the day, the Night Court did lie about who they were and what they were about. And they do have that moment where people don't trust them because of it. Helion, during this meeting, is kind of a dick, but after the meeting he shows up in their quarters and we find out that was all for show, and really he was just playing an asshole. He apologizes to Feyre and he explains himself. He's like trying to get a thing going with like more, trying to get like a little threesome or something going. I'm like, okay, that's beyond my level of comfort, so sorry. We end up finding out that Helion is our foxy little fox boy, our sneaky little crafty little one-eyed bastard, our one and only Lucien. We find out that's Helion's his dad. I want to see how that all plays out, and I want to see how it all plays out right now, but I think I have to wait a year. That was... I love a good plot twist. I love a big grand reveal, restyle. So the second day of meetings, Hybern destroys the wall. We're like, crap, this meeting was for naught. Everybody goes to war. The war begins. It's pretty obvious that our side is not strong enough to beat Hybern. I'm just worried. I don't want any of my people to die at this point in the book. I'm concerned. I love the Night Court. And we find out that our chances are shitty. So Feyre actually goes and tries to convince the Bone Carver. She tries to convince a creature who lives underneath the library of the Night Court to fight for the Night Court, to fight against Hybern. The Bone Carver's request was that she bring him the Ouroboros. She can only take ownership of the Ouroboros if she looks into it and confronts herself, basically. So Feyre does this. She goes, looks into that Ouroboros. She's desperate to have an edge in the war because it's not looking good right now and people are dying. She conquers the Ouroboros. She looks in, meaning she conquers herself. She takes the Ouroboros to the Bone Carver. She's like, fight for us. He's like, cool. I didn't actually want that. I just want to make sure you were worthy. She's kind of like, but then she's just like, whatever, just get out there on the battlefield, okay? Then she convinces Bryaxis to fight with him as well, okay? So she's got a couple of monsters underneath her sleeve, and it is just 100% awesome. And I'm super proud of her in this moment. At this point, Lucien is already across the sea on the continent looking for Vasa to kind of convince her, to free her and convince her to come help them. Because she's like trapped with some Dark Lord and every day she gets turned into a firebird. And it's really crazy. So all this is going down. Lucien over there. Elaine has lost her mind. She seems crazy. We find out that Elaine's not crazy. She is just a seer, a sibyl, an oracle, if you will. And she is in true Sarah fashion, the archetype of a seer, meaning that she is appearing to be very mad. She speaks in riddles. You know, this is such the trope, the archetype, if you will, of a seer. Can't figure out what's wrong with her. Everyone's like, she's totally nuts. It turns out she's not totally nuts. She's just seeing the future a lot. And it's confusing, obviously, because she's never seen the future before. And once they figure out that that's what she's doing, she kind of understands. And it kind of helps her once she figures out that what she is seeing is actually the future or the past or what's currently going on somewhere. It helps her deal with that. And she kind of comes back down a little, and we're just like, Elaine and Lucien at that moment, it's like, I don't see it. So maybe in the next book we'll see it. We'll see where it is that they're supposed to be mates, how they fit together. In this book, maybe we'll see in the next book that they do fit together, and I'm really excited for that. During the war, Feyre goes and she has a couple questions. So she's like, who can I ask? And she tricks Mor into leaving her alone during this whole battle. And she goes to the middle and she finds the Suriel. The Suriel, we all know, is like the gossip queen. Like, we're all like, the Suriel just loves to give us the chisme. She goes, she talks to the Suriel. The Suriel gives her a bunch of vital information. And then who shows up but Ianthe? Okay? And Ianthe's here looking for revenge, okay? The Suriel gets caught in a trap set by Ianthe, gives Feyre, like, go girl, run, they're gonna kill me. And Feyre's like, no. So Feyre takes off running and Ianthe follows her. And Feyre knows exactly where she's going. You will never guess. It is totally crazy. I was shook at this moment. I was like, this is such a great moment. And I really enjoyed it. Feyre runs right into the Weaver of the Woods cottage. Stygia, we find out her name is Stygia, and she's the bone carver's sister. Feyre runs in there. The Weaver's like, girl, what are you doing here? I'm about to eat you. And then the Weaver's like, oh, you brought me a snack, did you? So then Feyre, like, you know, is in there. Ianthe comes in through the threshold with her guards following Feyre. Feyre flips herself out of there real quick, like runs to the outside of the door and slams the door behind her and runs back to the Suriel. And you can hear Ianthe screaming because now the Weaver's about to kill Ianthe. So the final thing that Feyre does to Ianthe for revenge in this book is feed her to the Weaver of the Wood, which is so wonderful. Feyre and the Suriel have a moment. The Suriel and Feyre have kind of a connection. They talk to each other, and Feyre's there holding her while she dies. He or she dies. I feel like the Suriel's a girl, but that's just me. Helion shows up. We're like, how did he even get here? I guess he just knew, is what Feyre's thinking. And he takes Feyre back to the war. So everything in the war goes down. The tide turns. Vasa shows up with none other than Nesta, Feyre, and Elaine's dad. He shows up with a bunch of ships named after his kids. And with Miriam, he shows up with Jaqen, and he shows up with Lucien. So we're all like, oh my God, thank God. Like, I think in this moment, I'm like, yes, the war is about to turn tides. Like, we are about to win this thing. All the people we were hoping and praying would show up did show up. And it's just kind of like that climactic moment where you're hyped up and you're going to win the war. But the cauldron, Hybern already has the cauldron going. The cauldron is about to basically ruin everything. Amren sacrifices herself. She goes into her true form, which in this book we come to the knowledge that Amren is an angel. She is a soldier assassin, a messenger from a god who destroyed 2 cities. Obviously, 2 twin cities. We can gather that that's Sodom and Gomorrah. They were razed to the ground. A young and wrathful god. In the Bible, if you've ever read that, then you'll know that Sodom and Gomorrah were 2 twin cities that were destroyed. And also, God, during this story, is described as a young and wrathful god. A soldier, messenger, assassin, that is the description of a heavenly angel. And we're told that she came to this dimension through a rip in our own world, human world, and she is an angel. So she kind of shreds her face skin during this moment in the war to stop the cauldron, and she goes out there. She sacrifices herself. Varian and her got booed up. They were all kind of in love, and Varian doesn't want her to sacrifice herself, but she does. You know who else sacrifices himself? The guy who was alluding to sacrifice throughout the entire book had me stress the hell out, because obviously I do not want Rhys to die. Nobody wants Rhys to die. Rhys shouldn't want Rhys to die, but he does, and we just don't know why. Feyre doesn't want him to die. Nobody wants him to die. We all love him so much. But he is the kind of person who would sacrifice himself for everyone around him. And that's also why we love him, so we shouldn't really be surprised when Rhys acts like Rhys. So he sacrifices himself. Feyre is desperate. She begs the High Lords to save Rhys, bring him back. She holds on to him through the mating bond, and she begs them to bring him back. And who is the first one to agree to do it? Tamlin. Tamlin is the guy who gives a drop of his own power to his sworn enemy who stole his girl. Okay? So in this moment, we have Tamlin's redemption. Okay? His second piece of redemption. His first piece of redemption was when Elaine got her dumbass trapped by Hybern, and Feyre went to go rescue her, and Tamlin gives them the edge that they needed to escape. He distracts Hybern's forces while Feyre escapes and while Elaine escapes, and they also take this woman who was there. Okay, here's my crackpot theory about Briar. Her name is Briar, okay? As in Briar Rose, as in roses, as in spring court, okay? Who is gonna be this girl's mate? Are you curious? I have an answer for you. It might not be true, but I genuinely believe that Tamlin is going to redeem himself, and him and Briar are going to wind up crossing paths, and I believe that that is going to be Tamlin's mate, because her name is just too damn convenient to not be anything other than the Spring Court High Lady, which, if Tamlin really gets his shit together, he will make her a High Lady and not just his consort, because I think he would have learned his little lesson by now. But yeah, tons of stuff happened in this book. All our people end up surviving. Nesta and Elaine give Hybern's death blows. Their father dies for them. He sacrifices himself for his family. The theme of this book is basically sacrifice. This should be called A Court of Wings and Sacrifice, honestly, because everybody is just going around sacrificing themselves for each other left and right. I mean, I understand out of love, but it's just like, damn, you guys chill. You want my opinion on ACOWAR? It was a great book. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the twists and turns. I stayed up until like 3 a.m. reading it the first night that I had it. It was great. Sarah did a great job. There are a couple things that I can't wait for someone to touch on. Like, I can't wait until the next book that we, like, get more information regarding certain things. I want to see what happens with Elaine and Lucien. I want to see Nessian, obviously. I want to see Vassa. I'm curious about Vassa. I want to know way more about Vassa than I currently know. I know there's a lot of stuff I didn't talk about, like I said about the last review that I did. The books are like 700 pages long, so I can't fit everything in. If you want to talk about something, drop me a comment. I'm totally down to chit chat about ACOWAR, ACOTAR, ACOMAF, anything. Okay, my name is Justine Daydream, and thank you so much for watching this video.